Elevate your cybersecurity.
What was the video called? Let's go to stop it. Didn't you also see the headphones in here?
My producer just let me know that both of us were muted and that nothing I was saying came through, for which I am saddened and grateful because I did fuck up earlier. Welcome back to Bread in Captivity Reactions. This is a different spin today because we're going to be reacting to Ta-Nehisi Coates' interview, as well as a documentary that feels like it was produced, recorded, and written in October 2024, but in fact is from 5 mother-loving years ago. It is the Electronic Intifada's The Lobby documentary. It's a 4-part series, and we're going to be watching part 1 together. A rewatch for me and M the Gem. By the way, M the Gem, do you want to say hi to the people?
Hola.
We are both back in the studio. So, if you are anything like us, you've been pretty much caught up entirely. Let me just move this over a smidge. Let me look you all in the face. You've been caught up pretty much all day, all night, with the news coming out of Gaza. And if you are in the same boat I am, you knew a little bit about the conflict going in, but you are shocked and humbled in the worst ways to find out that it's much, much worse than anything you could have thought was going on over there. And it's been extremely eye-opening. It's been stomach churning, but it's important. It's important to know what's going on, and it's important to share the information. It's important to what am I trying to say? Something that makes something bigger. Increase the outreach of the voices that are seeking justice for Palestinians and basic human rights for Palestinians. And there's a lot of reasons why I feel drawn to this issue. I am not a Muslim. I am not Palestinian. I'm not American. I'm not Israeli. I am Canadian. I'm a Canadian non-religious person watching what's unfolding and seeing how much of it is coming from the ground, how much of it is coming from Palestinians themselves, just reporting everything, recording everything, their daily lives, and then going online or TV, however you consume media, and seeing our leaders and our news anchors and journalists like Jake Tapper and who's that blonde chick? Dana Bash and Rachel Maddow and all these people saying something that's completely opposite to what you are clearly seeing with your own eyes. It's been bizarre. because anytime a war happens in a distant part of the world, in the West, it's sad to say, but it's just not, people just don't care.
Honestly, how many wars are not started by the West, though?
We start them, we fund them, and the citizens of the country are kind of not doing so great that they can afford to dedicate some of their bandwidth to, foreign events. And that's not anybody's fault. But this time, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. And that's strange because it's a war, again, in the Middle East. And why is there this push this time to make sure that the public understands who is on the right side and who is on the wrong side? And why is that strong, repeated, coordinated, almost orchestrated message so in opposition, just a complete contradiction to facts coming from the ground, from doctors, from regular people, from Human Rights Watch, from
Press.
from the press, from Al Jazeera, from whoever, some people are going to say, oh, Al Jazeera is fine. But there are people with just TikTok accounts that you're following one day and they're gone the next. And it's because they are no longer on this earth. And that is a crazy thing to see on your phone and then hear something completely different, like somehow this person is responsible for what happened to them, coming out of the mouths of people who are supposed to be delivering us the truth. And it's created like a weird, it's like I've been unplugged from the Matrix or something.
Yeah, it feels like you're living in a dystopian society. And also, what's happening nowadays with the introduction of technology and everybody's access to phones nowadays is hard to tell a lie.
It's hard.
And on top of that, on an international scale, it's now coming to public knowledge who is really in power of whom.
Thank you. Because something that occurred to me is as a news person, as a news anchor, as a journalist, whatever, we know that they want to just get clicks, have a sensational story. And there are sensational stories to be had here. Crazy stories that if you wanted to cover them in a meaningful way would blow your mind, would create ripples in the journalism field, would probably put multiple people up for Pulitzer Prize awards. But people are actively looking away from the real story, as in children having their limbs become independent from the rest of their, I don't know how to phrase it gracefully, but children blown apart, families destroyed, generations of families destroyed, settler violence on a level that if you had that footage of Hamas would be playing nonstop. And instead of these stories being the thing that draws a journalist in like you think it would, they are like, nope, I don't see that. October 7th is all I see. And there's nothing before and after. And everything is...
Well, at that point, the questions to ask are who is writing your paychecks there?
Exactly, because the way you came at this so hard is the reason somebody like me, who is not a political pundit, who is not a journalist, who is not a historian, an economist, anybody who would otherwise have a meaningful opinion to give, that is the reason somebody like me is making a video talking about it, because it's fucking scandalous. It's scandal. It's on the last time I remember seeing this much propaganda, and obviously I was a lot younger then, was 9/11.
It's crazy. I was going to say the last time I saw this much just abhorrent violence where everybody was just, see no evil, was Game of Thrones. Because that is this feels very parallel to living in a society like that where everybody is aware of what is going on, yet nobody is able to actually.
Hunger Games.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
This is
actually.
some
Hunger
District 11 shit.
Games. Yeah, touche.
And you know why it's a lot like Hunger Games, if we can go off on a little
Confinement
tangent here.
specifically.
The people in these districts trapped
Mm-hmm.
in the wall, they all work for the betterment and for the enriched bougie lives of the people. You know what I'm saying? The people in District 1.
Yeah, well, you know, art mirrors reality sometimes.
And in Palestine, the people of Gaza, they are given, first of all, this is one of the craziest things I've learned. And I'm not going to stop repeating this. I'll say it every single episode because this is not normal. The people of Gaza have color-coded IDs. So you can have like one of a few colors, and I'm pretty sure green means that you can... Hold up, my producer's letting me know that we might have technical issues. One moment.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So in Gaza, people get a color-coded ID. And I think like green means M the gem coming through clutch.
Alrighty, let's see. Oh, yeah. So.
Oh, okay. So Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip have green IDs, generally issued once they turn 16, while Palestinians in East Jerusalem and Israel have blue IDs. Can we Google which IDs allow you to, which IDs give you a work permit from Gaza? Okay, yeah, hit that one. The Palestinian Chronicle one. We'll put it on the screen once we confirm it has the right issue. With so much disinformation going on, I'm honestly nervous to just like cast anything up on the screen. Let me just read this. Okay. Honestly, just Control F and look for like green or something. Okay. Because the Lieberman color codes. Oh, is that what it's called? Lieberman color code? I just do the search Google with that. Frigging Mac, bro. I don't like that. Just when you... Yeah. Oh, no way. Just add Gaza to the end of that. Man, even in a video explaining things that I have learned, I am reading about a whole other color coding system. Okay, we're falling down rabbit hole. But essentially, the point is this. You're on a color coded system, and the color that you are assigned determines what kind of threat Israel determines you to be. And therefore, whether that's going to decide whether or not you can leave the walls that are obviously enclosing Gaza. Because again, the Gaza Strip has 3 exits: Israel, the sea, and the Sinai Desert with Egypt. And the side with Israel is the longest. If you want to pull up a map of Gaza, the side of Israel, the border that it shares with Israel is the longest, and there is a wall there. Part of it is wall, part of it is fence. All of it is monitored. All of it is militarized. They have posts there where they monitor everything that's going on in Gaza and make sure that you don't come close to the wall. And there have been documented instances of people getting sprayed up by AKs just for coming close to the wall. Oh yeah, perfect, right? So so you have there's the Rafah crossing that's the border it shares with Egypt, where the Rafah crossing there, and then all of that long L shape is the border that it has with Israel, up until even that other side. That's all, yeah, and then the sea. So if you want to work, there is not an industry that's allowed to exist in Gaza because Israel has them blockaded by land, air, and sea. And that's something that you hear a lot. But what that means is you can't fly nothing in. You can't fly nothing out. You can't ship something in with a boat. You can't ship anything out with a boat. You definitely are not getting anything in through the Rafah crossing because it's a desert. There used to be something that kind of came through that crossing before, and we'll get to that later in this series because I think that was like some Pablo Escobar type shit. But the only other option is, of course, Israel. And so you have to behave because something that can get you the wrong color ID is as easy as like liking a post that says Free Palestine on Instagram or some shit. Like, you can do that, and that's enough to make sure that you're not allowed to go and support your family anymore for the slave wages that were available to you to begin with. So that's what that means when they're blockaded by land, air, and sea. There is that wall, and not a chocolate bar, not a tube of toothpaste, not a bag of chips can come through that wall without Israel's permission. So even if they made a deal with, Miss Vicky's chips, she couldn't send nothing there, not unless Israel said it was okay. That's how much it's locked down. She wouldn't be able to send them chips with a boat. She wouldn't be able to send them chips with a train, a plane, nothing. It has to come through Israel, and they're going to be, and they have, and again, we're going to get into this as this series unfolds. They, as in the Israeli government, have in the past literally counted the amount of people in Gaza and, man, woman, child, all that stuff, categorized it and said, this is the exact amount of calories that they need to not be full, but not starving, and let in just that, and banned things for years like chocolate and chips until human rights groups called them out. Because why would I don't want to go too far off on a tangent. I forgot what even brought us here.
The interview.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the insidious nature of the media just pumping us full of stuff, and how this leads somebody like me to find out that Miss Vicky's wouldn't be able to sell her chips in Gaza if she wanted to without Israel's permission, which is absurd. Imagine if Canada needed America's permission to sell something. Or vice versa. It makes no sense. The absurdity of it makes me feel like it's a lie. The absurdity of it makes me feel like I'm falling for some sort of anti-Semitic conspiracy until I look it up and it's actually real. And then I think to myself, whew, I can't be the first person that looked this up. I just can't be, because somebody published it. You know what I mean? And I can see it has views. So if a commoner, you know what I mean? If a schleb, if a pauper like me is finding out these diabolical things with just the most basic Google searches, how the hell is the media out there, whose job it is to know this stuff, spinning this in a way that is designed to convince me that what I'm seeing is not what I'm seeing? Honestly, shut up if that's what you want. Just pretend it's another war in the Middle East. That would have been the better strategy, to just not talk about it at all. But you had to sensationalize October 7th. You had to sensationalize. You had to milk it for all it's worth to buy consent for what you knew was going to come, because it's always happened this way. And you fumbled. You fumbled because you faked it so hard. We Googled you. You are that soccer player that we saw in a TikTok that took such an insanely fake dive that we looked up the club. Okay, like it's a review so bad that you go to see the movie, because it's just like just to see it for yourself. And like, surely you can't be lying about everything.
No, I'm gonna wait for it to come out on Netflix. I'm not watching.
Yeah, like, surely you can't be lying about everything. But you are lying about everything, and not just lying. You're basically just changing the words, because in this series, we are also going to explore how basically the Israeli government will put out lies about what Palestinians are doing, only to find out Israelis are doing it. The IDF is doing it. I'm going to take a moment here to acknowledge and point something out. Israel does not represent all Jews. They call themselves a Jewish state. They are the most dangerous thing that's happened to Judaism or Jewish people in a long time. Okay, and that's a high bar to clear. But Israel is creating such a distaste for their own state. Oh, I can see your arm, Em. Oh, not anymore. Hey. So they are creating such a distaste for their state, and they are also insisting that they represent all Jewish people, that you are manufacturing this hate for Jewish people just by being your disgusting selves Israel's government.
I have to say something on that point. I mean, it's relevant, but also globally, I just think that absolutely no country should be based off of religion. I think it's and specifically ancient texts that have changed over the years, because what's what for real. And also, if you're actually expecting your nation to have a multitude of different types of people, how can you just be focused on one sole religion? Because
they're not trying to. That's what they're saying. They want a Jewish ethno-state. That's the beef. They want it to be all Jewish. And these Palestinians are having babies at a rate these Jewish Israelis cannot match. And they're like, if we give them rights, they'll outnumber us. They're not hiding it. They want it to be a Jewish ethno-state.
Was this not the same argument that America had for slavery?
Yeah. It's the argument a lot of awful people have had for a long time, and an argument that has, in many cases, resulted in not so great things happening to the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. So I'm shocked that Israel is willing to play with fire this way and risk, and then it's like, oh, the shock just dissipates. It's not your intent to save Jewish people. It's not your intent at all, because you would be doing a better job. Mm-hmm. You would be, Israel is not the safest place for Jews right now, is it?
No, definitely.
If I were a Jewish person, I would not want to be in Israel. Calling me up for the military and shit? You know, everyone has to serve, right?
Yeah.
Hell no. You want to start endless wars and then I get called up? And then meanwhile, you got your boys on TikTok putting on lingerie and everything, and then what? I go there, even if I try to do a good job, even if I try not to be like them, you're guilty by association, because there's no such thing as a good Nazi. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't say that, I was just like watching the doors and stuff like that. You know what's happening behind those doors. And we all saw what was happening behind those doors. Let me not even get into that. But we saw what happens to Palestinian prisoners when people think that when IDF soldiers think no one's looking. Oh,
there you go. Your cat unplugged my headphones.
Well, to be fair, I think you had something to do with it. Maya. That boy has a death wish. He is right by the roly rolls of my thing. And The meow he made when I once rolled over his tail still haunts me.
How did you feel?
I still don't feel like I'm a good person because of that. Let's not even go down there.
Okay, let's
There are so many pets in Gaza, like so many cats and dogs.
watch this. I can't talk about the pets in Gaza.
Let's dive on in.
Dive on in.
Dive on in. We're going to start with an interview from the once beloved Ta-Nehisi Coates. But it turns out you can point out the struggles of anyone on earth except the Palestinians. And it's so widely known that when I watched Breaking Points afterwards, I don't fuck with soccer, but I watch it sometimes. They were both like, "Oh man, it was so brave of him to ruin his career." It's canon. It's canon. All right, let's watch this shit show together. Ta-Nehisi Coates is interviewed on CBS.
The Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist.
I have a very, 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 very more.
Oh, this is a cut from TYT. Let me just search for the interview. Let me not look like I'm trying to big up TYT, bro. Because Jenk and Ann have been acting crazy.
I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book.
How did that happen? That was a neat little trick. Did CBS take down the interview or whatever? No way they took down the interview.
All right,
I'm going to watch it on Breaking Points because
we wanted to bring you this really different stories. And the book, the central theme of the book is based tension.
Words and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away. The content of that section would not be out of place. Took your name out.
You right here, let's take a listen.
When I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist.
the contents of Ta-Nehisi Coates' book would not be out of place in the backpack of extremists.
Just call him a terrorist, because that's exactly what you want to say.
You know what's funny? Somebody else said that. That's funny. And
Somebody else said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because verbatim, that's like, this is media talk for, so you agree with a terrorist, right? Do you condemn Hamas?
I was just about to say it. If this guy, okay, let's just keep going.
And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much?
You want to know what's funny? We're not sharing the video. Oopsie. Let's go back a few seconds. These things happen when you don't stream clean. You can take that how you want.
Awesome.
When I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
What a piece of shit. And what a way to frigging ask a question. Why not mention all the other things? Well, maybe because he knows why them things happened.
Well, as I learned today, everybody's been getting the same PR.
Oh, yeah. This is, okay.
Okay, no. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
The reason we're even going in this order is because, why do I feel like I uncovered a secret, but it's a video that's been available for 5 years?
Literally.
Holy smokes. All right. We're not going to, you know what? Let's not even waste any time. I want us to observe what's happening here and look at him. Look at the way he's pretending to crinkle those eyes. Oh, do you really believe it? Shut up. Oh. Look at him. Do you really? Let me just hit it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there's a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with.
So that's basically the first question out of the gate. And by the way, I said NBC at CBS. But yeah, basically accusing him of being a terrorist effectively.
Oh.
And the framing of the question to me is incredibly significant.
Yeah, I don't fuck with Sagar very much, especially after this.
Sagar?
Sagar is this guy,
Okay.
and she's Crystal.
Okay.
Crystal and Sagar. They used to have like a different show, I think. I don't know. Whatever. It's a thing. Oh, like Coffee and Cream or whatever. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But Sagar really shows his ass here, okay? Because Ta-Nehisi Coates has a famous essay about the case for reparations. And I really, really detest people trying to talk down on reparations. Because if I'm a Black American, give me my money.
Give me my money, bro.
You fucking
took everything
owe
from
me this.
I have no identity. I
Give
have no history. I
me
have nothing.
my money.
Absolutely.
The land you done stole. And I'm not talking about the native stuff. I'm talking about you, like, two-timing me on a deed. You know what I mean? You lying that the area was condemned and then suddenly it was a park like the next year or something, you know, like just like beachfront properties that you maneuvered out of the hands of Black people who had worked honestly for it. And like that all of that and more.
Can I actually say that I think that there isn't enough credence that goes to the psychological effects of trauma that are passed out generationally. Because why do you think that so many Black people in America are predisposed to heart disease, diabetes, stress-related issues?
You know
PTSD?
what I'm saying? Because you can't catch a fucking
Yep.
break. But whatever Stormy Daniels got for his pain and suffering is what Black descendants of slaves deserve.
No, but that's a very unpopular opinion in America.
No. Like whatever you got for pain and suffering, okay? Because slavery is worse than having to fuck Donald Trump.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So let's just start the bar there. Give me whatever Stormy Daniels got for pain and suffering. That's the least you could do. I would not shut up about how bad America owes me money. And if I saw like white people saying like no reparations or whatever, I kind of expect it. That's the enemy that I'm expecting. That's the person who I'm making the case for, because you're the one who needs to understand it. But children of immigrants talking out of their mouth about how I don't deserve, and I'm pretending I'm a Black American person right now.
I
Like,
just fell out of my chair.
children of immigrants talking out of their mouth about how I don't deserve First of all, shut up, okay? Shut up. you wouldn't even be allowed to come into the country if black people weren't pushing for civil rights.
Question. What country?
Thank you.
What country?
You wouldn't even be allowed to be repping the red, white, and blue if black people weren't pushing for civil rights. That was a blanket deal that got a bunch of people some entry to the United States. Okay? So shut up about this conversation, about this shit. Especially when you have a huge platform, the way he does, to just be like, oh, he's radicalizing in people like him and who's he going at, the girl who wrote Nicole Hannah Jones, 1619 Project. Oh, they're radicals and they're like bad for the. He has such a punchable face when he says things like that. And I'm not saying anyone should. I'm just saying that if you were to,
Are we talking about Trump?
Sagar. When he starts talking that shit, just has like a face that.
Sagar's Indian.
If I had to get, he's something.
Because that name is Indian. I have to
He's
say
not
something
white.
that
That's
there's
what I know.
something-
He's
yeah,
not
that
white.
There's something to me personally that's absolutely abhorrent and despicable about seeing, and I can say this because that's what my background is, but seeing brown people, Indian or Pakistani people, rep so hard for the West because both of our, first of all, my country exists because of this reason, because of the effects of colonization partly, and I just don't understand this whole like.
You had to
oh,
leave
my
because of the whites,
colonizers
and
are
you
my
got to come here
hero.
because of the blacks, and you still want to get here and tell the blacks to get over it.
But let me tell you something, okay? They're gonna be popping that rap music on their drive home too.
You know what I'm saying? I heard Big Dog. Get it how you live it, 10 toes in, all that stuff. I'm so sick of it. Like, I wouldn't survive as a black American person.
No, you wouldn't.
I-
And as somebody who knows you definitely wouldn't for a variety of reasons. First of all,
I'd
she
have a
walks
rap
into
sheet.
all of the drama.
I'd have.
okay?
I would need to be on YouTube because I wouldn't have a legal way to earn money. Because I would have a rap. There's just no way. So for that reason, I'm gonna skip over most of his BS. This is the video title.
Thanks for blessing us with that.
If you want to, oh, and I unsubscribed. The second he started on that nonsense, I just hit the unsubscribe.
You follow her on Twitter or X or whatever it is.
I don't care. I don't care.
Again, because it gives up the game that if he didn't have this elite insider status that he can now trade on and effectively burn, because that's what he's doing right now. All the political capital he built up in this world, he's now burning through at lightning pace because of what he says in the message. Like, he doesn't even
Crystal's
get
gonna
that
get annoyed with this guy.
But if you were to read this, but if you were to read this book,
Fuss.
you. But if you were.
Girl,
Hit it once and twice. Boom, boom. Won't. Look at her face. She's had enough of this.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries
My
have a right
answer
to
is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that
love that response so much because, first of all, I'm stealing it. Applicable to so many circumstances and arguments. Every country is built with force.
And literally, we've set up the entire United Nations, all these organizations to make sure that shit doesn't go down anymore. So Israel, you're late to the party.
I also I'm not particularly fond of the question of does Israel have the right to exist, period. Because does any country in that capacity have the right to exist? And who
South
is
Africa as an apartheid state have the right to exist? And also the whole, if Israel shouldn't exist, should Palestinians? So if you can't come to my hood and divide my home, both of us shouldn't get it.
Yeah. That's
What type?
That's exactly what it is.
And they're going to say, Bible says that, you know, it was ours a long time ago, blah, 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 blah. Suppose I just don't believe in your religion.
Yeah.
How does that
I have
now
a
apply to me?
question, dude? What if in like a hypothetical circumstance, documentation and, you know, archaeological evidence pops up that the sites are not even what you thought they were meant to be in the first place?
M
Are
the
we
gem,
just-
stop right there, because that is also something I'm going to bring up.
Get out!
Archaeologists publishing papers saying we done dug up everything that there is to dig up. I don't know what you mean by wandering in the desert.
No, I'm going to need to see this.
That's
We're
going to
gonna
come
have
up
to cover
later in
that.
the series, but yeah, mark that down, because I was like, first of all, I'm not really looking for science to prove that anything in religious texts happened. My whole point is that's your religious text. Cool. Suppose I don't believe in your religion. What now?
It's your problem.
Because I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the argument becomes, well, you know, God said, so here I am to wail at the wall. So can you? Excuse me? Palestinians, when they were first being told to leave, had their keys, just confident that they were going to come back to their house.
Yeah, you know what? In this circumstance, it's not a matter of religion versus religion. It's a matter of religion versus arms.
Yeah. You know, like they make it seem like, oh, it's a Jewish, as if I would be happy the Chinese were doing it to me.
Yeah. I
You
would
know
be
what I
happy
mean?
if the Muslims were doing this.
As if I would be happy if a bunch of
my God, I
Iraqis
would
were
really
doing
not
it to
be
me or
happy.
something. The point is not who's doing it. The point is the deed is evil. So who's doing it is doing evil things. It doesn't matter that you like everything else is happenstance. Okay, that's like I'm not going to like y'all did this. Y'all did it. And if you don't want to rep your religion in a way that is associated with this, you could just not do that. You know what I mean? You could just split it up. The fact that people want to pretend that splitting it up, when you have the leaders of one country saying, we're not splitting it up, and then America comes running over to tell you, trust me, we're splitting it up, guys. And then they're like, we're not splitting it up. No, I'm going to send you everything you need and give you tons of money, but trust me, we're going to split it up. We're going to split it up. We're not splitting it up.
Here's $38 billion.
It delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's what I've struggled with throughout this book.
Okay, good.
What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people lay down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian and Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay? I'm the child of Jim Crow. I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case, of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down the street in Hebron. And the guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion. I'm with another pastor. No. I want to. This is very, very important. It's extremely important.
Let it lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me. He's a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can. Why is that okay?
Why is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians? They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well. What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong. I am, for instance, against the death penalty. What the person did to get the death penalty it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they were selling a nickel bag of marijuana or if they were a serial killer. I am against the death penalty. I am against a state that discriminates against people on the basis of ethnicity. I'm against that. There is nothing the Palestinians could do that would make that okay for me. My book is not based on the hyper-morality
What's the last
of the Palestinian people.
And that's basically the entirety of the interview. And
I'm not gonna carry on with this video, but wow. And they loved him before. Like, they loved him.
When he said what, lay it down?
Lay it down.
I cannot tell you how much I hate when white people do that.
When, like, it's older people in general sometimes, where I feel like they went and Googled,
Black
what are the
slang.
kids saying?
Oh,
You know? Because it's always going to be black slang.
yeah, it is always
Yeah.
gonna be black.
So I feel like they're looking and they're like, yeah, no, I feel
It
that.
just, but
Lay
it's
it
like,
down.
do you like not hear yourself as you say these things, or do you not hear it in an interview previously and you're like, maybe I should watch what I say because I sound really ignorant?
I feel like some people see that and they're like, damn, I sounded cool.
Yeah, that's true. Actually.
Yeah, you know? And they don't have a friend in the world
Yeah, relating to the
because
kids.
they're paying for dinner. So
Yeah.
what am I going to do? What are you going to do? Tell you you're a fucking weirdo? All right. So, yeah, Sagar goes on like a little baby that, oh, my God, I can't believe he wrote an essay about how black people did reparations. Shut up, Sagar. Like, man, he's taken away from so many times that I almost found him tolerable. But you know
Does
what? It doesn't
Sagar
matter.
know that Indians were also enslaved?
You know what? Let's... He would probably look at you like, but we're not asking for reparations. You are asking for the Kohinoor diamond back then.
I want the Kohinoor diamond back. First of all, what is it even doing with you guys?
They're just keeping it safe for you.
Yeah, but India has.
Yeah, you know what? You know
technology.
what though? It would just make us all feel a lot better if we just kept it here.
Okay. Did you also get the handbook? The media training handbook?
And you know what better reason to come and visit us than to see your stuff?
All of the stuff that we stole
yeah,
from you.
yeah. Just imagine that, this was, if you could picture it.
You know what's so funny? It's almost like going to visit your sister and you walk into her closet and it's like, I think I've seen like 70% of these things before.
Yeah, except you're Cinderella and it's your stepsister. And if she catches you looking at what's yours, she'll try to snatch the dress you're wearing right now.
All right, not everybody lives traumatic.
As punishment. Okay, let's get into the main chunk of the episode, which is scary to say because I did not realize that we were going on for so long. We've gone on many side quests, and we have to stay focused. Speaking of, can you load me a focus helper? We're not monetized yet. It's fine. I'm not going to mention it, and I'll turn off the camera. Yeah, I'm going to play the video while I'm doing it. Just have it ready for me. Can you do that, M the Gem? Superstar? Yeah, you can't see the look she's giving me, but it's not great.
After this, you're doing this yourself. I'm really sick and tired of this.
I'm not going to start a whole thing because we're streaming, but let me not. Fucking let me go. Girl. It's funny because there's a song that made me think about that whole thing. You make me want like a law, coffee like the law, girl. You make me wanna work like a job. I know you up, but can you do the Okay. We are now entering the main video for the episode. We're going to be watching this together. It's going to sound like it came out yesterday, but this is 5 years old. So buckle up. Let's watch this together. We're going to pause for a commentary. I'm going to try not to pause too long because we've already been going on for a long time. But this is just crazy interesting. It's a documentary by the Electronic Intifada. And just to give you guys a little bit of background before we dive into it. They essentially got someone to go undercover inside the Israel lobby in the US and record a bunch of wild things, scandalously conspiratorial things that will make you question your own memories. Anyhow, it needs no further introduction. I cannot believe it doesn't have like 10 million views. Let's get into it. The Lobby, USA, Episode 1.
In the first series of The Lobby, Al Jazeera's investigative unit exposed the role of pro-Israel operatives in Britain.
The headlines at 11 o'clock.
Israel's ambassador to the UK has apologised after a senior diplomat was caught on camera saying he wanted to take down the Foreign Office Minister, Sir Alan Duncan.
Sir Alan Duncan, who's a strong critic of Jewish settlements.
An undercover reporter for Al Jazeera doing an investigation into Britain's relationship with
This
Israel.
investigation exposes a covert Israeli campaign to influence British policy.
The investigation led to the resignation of Shai Massot, a senior political officer at the Israeli embassy.
Mr. Massot is also heard describing the Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson as an idiot.
The diplomat in question no longer seems to be a functionary of the embassy in London. So whatever he may exactly have been doing here, his cover can be said to have been well and truly blown.
At the same time, Al Jazeera had been running a second undercover operation. Some of our reporters' covert filming was included in the first series of The Lobby. His identity became known. Tony had spent 5 months inside the pro-Israel lobby in the United States. He impressed colleagues with his understanding of the Middle East.
You have the resourcefulness and depth to sort of think strategically at this, whereas most people aren't able to do that.
A prominent Jewish online magazine described Tony as the perfect gentleman who became one of the town's best-liked Zionist activists.
You did amazing work here. The guys don't stop talking about you. They still talk about you.
Tony threw elaborate parties, and apparently anyone interested in telling a story about sinister Israeli influence in America's capital couldn't have asked for a better guest list. In a new edition of The Lobby, we investigate the role of pro-Israel advocacy groups in this country in the first of a 4-part series, how the lobby is being drawn into Israel's covert campaign to spy on American citizens. Using an undercover reporter, Al Jazeera's investigative unit infiltrates one of the most powerful lobbies in the world.
Getting $38 million in security in Israel matters, which is what AIPAC just did.
We examine how the lobby led by AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, has secured unwavering support in Congress.
Congressmen don't do anything unless he's president, and he always has his money.
What the lobby is all about is to make sure that Israel gets special treatment from the United States forever.
But after occupying Palestinian lands for half a century, the pro-Israel lobby is facing a new challenge.
We called for a full boycott of Israel, divesting from it, and eventually imposing sanctions on it to achieve UN-stipulated rights of the Palestinian people.
A movement to boycott, divest, and impose sanctions on Israel, BDS, was formed on American campuses.
Seems to be achieving its goals, threatens future American support for Israel.
We believe in justice for all people. So that means the occupation has to end.
Israel's Ministry of Strategic Affairs responded with a covert operation to defeat BDS.
אתה צריך לעשות את זה עם הרבה מאוד עמימות. זה לא גוף צבאי היררכי שאם הרגנו את X, אז כל הגוף מתחתיו לא פועל.
The Israeli government leverages Jewish organizations in the diaspora. Absolutely.
It's a psychological campaign involving spying and smears.
You discredit the messenger as a way of discrediting the message. Just stay on message. And what is that message? BDS is a hate movement.
While our reporter monitored pro-Israel groups, he was asked to go undercover for the lobby.
You're going into enemy territory. It's not for everybody.
We are a different government working on foreign soil, and we have to be very, very cautious. We have 3 different sub-campaigns which are very, very sensitive regarding data gathering, information analysis, working on activist organization, money trail. This is something that only a country with its resources can do the best. If we want to win, we have to change our ways. We have to think differently. And this is waging a holistic campaign against the other side. Take him out of his comfort zone. Make him be on the defensive.
Israel is involved in a secretive influence campaign whose aim is to discredit its challenges in the West.
In the Air Force, when you want to win, you have to have aerial superiority. If you want to win a campaign, you must have information superiority. And this is exactly the added value Israel capabilities, technological and otherwise, we can bring to the game, and we are working on that very hard.
In the United States, the lobby is working with Israel to spy on America.
So, just to be clear, these people are the Israel lobby. They are a group that represents the interests of Israel inside the United States. And part of their whole thing, part of their mission, I guess, is making sure that American citizens and Canadian, which is so scary, because as Canadians, we observe what's happening in the States a lot because our foreign policy is
pretty strongly tied there.
Watch what they do and then figure it out.
Watch what they do and then figure it out. Hilarious.
Tell me I'm wrong. So we consume American media a lot. And it's what happens there is super important to us because we are unofficially the 51st state.
It's actually so true. If they could, they would just take us over.
Alberta and Quebec would just go willingly.
Oh my God.
They'd be like,
I don't know about Quebec, actually. Quebec's pretty diehard about being solo dolo.
To spite Canada, they would go.
Yeah, I can see that.
So these guys work in every country. Because there's talks over here about reps in Dubai, UAE, and I'm like, okay. Their job has a sinister side. Well, actually, supporting Israel is already sinister, and it's weird to say because I don't want to sound like I've been conditioned. I've been conditioned to believe that because I have feelings about what Israel is doing, that somehow it's anti-Semitic, but it's not, and I'm not going to fall for their coercion and bullying anymore.
No,
okay?
Because when we discuss the archaic practices and stuff that's written in the Quran, we're not very sparing of any feelings there too.
Exactly, and
the things that don't make sense don't make sense.
If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense, and if my government has to participate in what you're doing, and I have family that is born and raised in the United States. I have cousins that are born and raised in the United States, paying tuition to American university. If that's the expectation of Israel, that you get a cut of that, and I have to believe that it's all like, I have a vested interest here. And I'm not going to banty words. I don't support any of the other bullshit that's going on in other parts of the world, but I'm not being fed by the news organizations that somehow Boko Haram is like, misunderstood. So whatever. They're not like, no one, I don't, whatever, man.
Oh my God, I have to comment on something in the video that happened in the really quick, in the beginning. There was a preview of that of a woman who was saying that the BDS movement is a hate movement.
A hate group. I hate.
And I just feel like by definition that doesn't exactly make
This one,
sense.
she was like, it's a hate. It's
Because
training.
Yeah.
Just stay on message. And what is that message? BDS is a hate movement.
So, for people who don't know, what is a BDS movement? It's a boycott,
divestment
sanctions movement.
They're going to explain better in the video what it is, but essentially, Palestinians have been doing anything and everything they can to make sure that their message is getting out beyond that fucking wall and the West Bank. And one thing that they've done, one thing that they've shown that we can all do together to support them is make a choice with our own money to not support items coming out of Israel, because a lot of those things, like dates, for example, are farmed on stolen Palestinian land while their crops are burned. Olive oil that comes from Israel, they are burning and destroying the olive trees that have been there for centuries, and they are ruining the crops of Palestinian olive farmers who have been doing the work for years, and they are planting pine trees to just to terraform the landscape so that it bears no resemblance to the people who were there before. So with our money, we can reject that. And that's our right. It's not violent. We're not doing anything wrong. We are just choosing to not purchase something that is made in an apartheid state. And this would not be a problem if you were saying, for example, buy used iPhones.
You know what I thought was actually interesting about the BDS thing, because I just thought that this was something that recently blew up, but through watching the documentary, I learned that this is something that actually existed since like July 9th of 2005 or something like that. It's not a recent
Even
thing
before
either.
that. Before that. Well, I'll give you one more little nugget that's going to come up in the video. They borrowed the whole BDS approach from South Africa.
Mm.
South Africa's apartheid. One of the ways that they were doing that was through BDS.
Right.
And Palestinian and the founders of the BDS movement for Palestine have openly said that they modeled it after the South African approach. And what poetic justice that it's South Africa that brings the case to the ICJ. Around full circle. So that's a non-violent way to say that I don't want to give my money to something that's supporting genocide. And it's a way that you can do something, inconvenience yourself a little bit, look at just feel like I'm doing something for Palestine. You know what I mean? It's easy to feel helpless, but that moment of like looking at something, seeing that those words made in Israel or like from Israel or something, and having the power to just say, no, not my money, not going to support, like that's my right.
It's making a substantial difference. That's
my right as a human being. Like it's not, you can't, in a free market society, you adjust to the consumer in order to make the best case that I should buy from you, not see that the consumer is making a different choice and then manipulate the entire system to punish the consumer, call what they're doing illegal instead of changing your product. You know what I mean? When Apple comes out with a new feature or Samsung comes out with a new feature and people switch over, you don't see people saying it's fucking racist. You know what I mean? Because you can when people were like, I don't want to buy things with slave labor, or there was a movement to buy used phones or something like that, nobody was accused of something nefarious because it was clear you wanted to help a group in need. But it turns out that's okay as long as the group in need aren't Palestinians.
You nailed it.
And that is crazy because the people that you think would be on your side actually aren't. And by that, I mean, these are liberal pundits who have been showing up, with words at least, on the side of the downtrodden, you know? It was never scandalous to say these children shouldn't die. It was never, you never had to preface that by saying I condemn terrorism, but also would be great if children weren't slaughtered. Like, I mean, it wasn't a prerequisite. You could have like in the Venn diagram of opinions with like KKK and and Black Lives Matter, that middle part would say, you know, maybe like babies shouldn't die. And then that's not scandalous. But it is if you're saying Palestinian kids shouldn't die. Because it's like, well, what the fuck are they doing around bombs then? Well, then tell Hamas to move them out of the bombs away then. Don't kill the kid. It's not worth it just because Hamas is there. Well, they're throwing rockets at us. Oh, damn. Are you guys okay? Did anyone get hurt? No one was hurt. But come on, man. Throwing rockets? That's crazy violent. I'm like, so no one died. No. But like, there's like this field that has this weird scorch mark, and now we're all gonna have to like look at that. I mean, come on, they're savages. So yeah, we are gonna respond. It is gonna be a bunker buster bomb that is gonna penetrate the ground and incinerate people. But if you don't want that happening to your kids, just scooch over. Yeah, it's 41 kilometers. And yes, the radius of the bomb is enormous. But I'm giving you a 30-minute warning. So if it's important, grab it and... Are you crazy?
I don't even think I can run that far in 30 minutes based on what I can do on a treadmill, dude.
For 30 minutes, I'll just watch one episode of my last... one last episode of my favorite show.
What? I'm just going to get murked off outside, right?
You know what I mean? Let me run one episode of a comedy. Let me just go out on something nostalgic. What do you mean grab all my stuff and run? What do you mean it's the third time this month? What are you talking?
That feels so Hunger
What are you talking about? If you want them so bad, come in here and get them. You say you have a map of their tunnels, right? Just come on up and, why should we risk all... So then kill the babies. Because soldiers don't want to... Let me not... This stream is never going to happen because we keep going off on tangents. And I have a mental disability. What is your excuse, Em?
Same. Can you please take care of your cat? Because he's really being...
He is our cat, and he is wanting for affection. Come here, Maya.
His breath is rank.
Your breath is not great either.
Okay. Definitely doesn't smell like that.
So maybe we should just all calm down before we say something we regret. And play the video. And kindly mute my mic because my hands are busy. This is Maya.
While our reporter monitored pro-Israel groups, he was asked to go undercover for the lobby.
You're going into enemy territory, not for everybody.
We are a different government working on foreign soil, and we have to be very, very cautious. We have 3 different sub-campaigns which are very, very sensitive regarding data gathering, information analysis, working on activist organization, money trail. This is something that only a country with its resources can do the best. If we want to win, we have to change our ways. We have to think differently. And this is waging a holistic campaign against the other side. Take him out of his comfort zone. Make him be on the defensive.
Israel is involved in a secretive influence campaign whose aim is to discredit its challenges in the West.
In the Air Force, when you want to win, you have to have aerial superiority. If you want to win a campaign, you must have information superiority. And this is exactly the added value Israel capabilities, technological and otherwise, we can bring to the game, and we are working on that very hard.
In the United States, the lobby is working with Israel to spy on American citizens.
This is the beef with having a militarized society. Did you hear what this woman just said? If you want to win an aerial campaign. If you want to win, like what? If you want to win a fighter jet fight, you have to have aerial superiority. This is not a fight about fighter jet versus fighter jet. This is activism for freeing Palestinians. Mayo, I fear you are going to do something that is going to impact this stream in a negative way. Just put him down. He's getting anxious now. He's getting annoyed. Oh, okay, there you go.
I was trying to put him down gently.
Can we just talk about how weird this is? There is a panel of people speaking specifically about undermining the will of individual citizens in one country for the benefit of another country. And they're doing it so brazen. Like, somebody folded those cards. Those cards have somebody's name printed on it, and then they've been scored and folded in preparation for the... It's just weird, right? Hey, later on we're having a discussion about, why students shouldn't really help struggling Palestinians. And on the esteemed panel, we're going to have these people. So once you find out how awful it is, it's weird. The pageantry is weird. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but once you've unmasked the ugly side of Zionism, the pageantry of it is so bizarre. Because if this were an ISIS sympathetic group having a discussion on a panel like this, just talking so matter-of-factly, taking questions from the audience, I don't even know.
Giving them data. For example, one day Sima's deputy sending me a photo, just a photo in WhatsApp. It's written boycott Israel on a billboard. In a few hours, our systems and analysts could find the exact organization, people, and even the names where they live. We gave it back to the ministry. I have no idea what to do with this. But in fact, 3 days later, there were no billboards. With this,
can we see where that photo is from? Paid for by
Seattle Broadcast Awareness Campaign.
Wow.
I'm muted, by the way.
Paid for by the Seattle Broadcast Awareness Campaign. That's what it says. That's what it says over here. So this is in Seattle. And they used Israeli tech to be like, yo, look at this billboard. And then the billboard disappears. Do you see what I'm saying here? If the message today is you can't boycott Israel and from another country, where does that end? I don't know.
3 days later, there were no billboards.
A few days later, there's no billboards.
We use all sorts of technology. We use corporate level, enterprise grade, social media intelligence software. Almost all of this happens on social media. So we have custom algorithms and formulae that acquire the stuff we need.
In terms of information sharing, we did add the Ministry of Strategic Affairs to our operations and intelligence brief, which kind of goes back to how do we get information about American college campuses.
Generally within about 30 seconds or less of one of these things popping up on campus, whether it's a Facebook event, whether it's the right kind of mention on Twitter, the system picks it up, it goes into a queue, and alerts our researchers, and they evaluate it, they tag it, and if it rises to a certain level, we issue early warning alerts to our partners.
Okay. So this asshole just said that they monitor the interweb for mentions that a campus, a university campus in the States, is about to pop off and have a protest, a demonstration, a coffee date where they're discussing Palestine and Palestinian rights. And they are alerted. And then all of that information goes out to these like strike teams who have gone through the training, know what to say, are there to antagonize, like whatever. They have mission parameters and goals, and so I don't know how this stuff is graded, okay? But they get their marching orders, and then they're off to disrupt the protest at a campus. Wow. Let's keep it going.
They operate through subterfuge, and they walk a very thin line between the legal and illegal in what they do in order to gather information and to smear their opponents and just ultimately destroy them.
Max Blumenthal must be so fucking tired. He is still dealing with this shit.
In order to understand how the pro-Israel lobby operates, you have to literally be a fly on the wall. If you can't obtain information publicly, you should try to get into the room through other means.
That's what's up.
Our undercover reporter, Tony, is British and Jewish.
Look at this
and
guy.
had recently graduated from the University of Oxford.
This
He
is
wrote
what a
articles
spy
and
really
presented
looks like.
himself
None of that weird
as a
stuff
strong
you see on
supporter of
TV.
Israel.
Just
In
an
Washington, he attended
unassuming,
a course
skinny
on the
guy.
Israel-Palestine conflict.
He fits a really broad description. I wanted to pause the video. I knew I might. He fits like a pretty broad description. Oh, white male, 5'8" to 5'10", 100 and blah 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 pounds. Like he sees everybody. This guy's perfect. The lobby can hear me. And they have sent allergens into the environment to fuck up my stream. All right. M the Gem is letting me know that she has already put me on notice that her mic is muted, so it's weird that I keep talking to her because all of her responses are not being recorded. And I'm like, I don't care. Right? Yeah. Okay. This is crazy. We are 9 minutes in, and we already have enough that if this were Korean, we would be waging war.
The pro-Israel lobby.
North. I want to say wherever. Look at Rona.
After building his profile, Tony was accepted on a training course in pro-Israel advocacy.
Welcome to Go for Truth DC's second boot camp. Congratulations everyone to being accepted. What we're going to do right now is
People get rejected from this?
Introduce ourselves. I'm Daniel.
You can apply to learn about Israeli propaganda and get.
And worked at APAC for a year.
One session criticized the UN agency that provides aid for Palestinians.
What's this motherfucker's resume?
I served in the IDF and the paratroopers for 2 years.
IDF paratrooper.
One session criticized the UN agency that provides aid for Palestinians.
Children are taught in rural Palestinian schools to hate Jews.
Another lecture dealt with the international media.
Fucking media bias. During the last war, a lot of times videos are circulating of bombed areas or victims. And a lot of it's from Syria, from Iraq 10 years ago.
This is some Lake Lao guy
They
shit.
were instructed how to respond to criticism of Israel.
If you know, you know.
The apartheid wall is coming up Palestine. Boycott Israel. Divest from Israel. Sanction companies that do business with Israel.
It's kind of odd to call it a wall, given that like 90% of it is fence.
This is a photo. I see a wall.
Why can't Israel do
more?
Israel's doing a lot.
So they're hold up. Look at him. He is role playing as the pro-Palestinian. He knows all the talking points, such as children are dying, people are trapped behind a wall, this is illegal, and he's there to train these people who have been Can we examine that for a second? There is when you say congratulations on being accepted, there's a few things I know already. there is an application process. Okay. There is a vetted application process. It's not even like just 100 signatures so that we can book the room. And then there is a rejection list. You could get a letter after saying, hey, I'd like to chortle Israel's chode for money, and you can be told, throat game weak. What? So they want the best of the best. They don't want you to be like, well, like, you know, it's not really like a wall, it's like a fence. They want you to be like, it's not a wall, it's a fence, and I have all.
What they're looking for are the ideal Stockholm Syndrome candidates.
They're looking for people who have drank the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. That's 100%. Because you need to be committed to be on this level. And to know that, like, to get training on here's how to push back on people who think that we need to stop killing kids. Okay, then. This is a role play. Did scientists fucking give us? What is that bullshit when you go into a room and you have to do yes and?
Improv.
Did Zionists give us improv? The fucking depths of evil with these people knows no bounds. I fucking hate improv. Now they're practicing with each other. Y'all, if you have ever had a retail sales job, this is how it goes at training. Where one person's a customer and one person's a sales rep, and you have to get somebody to buy something from you.
I think you find that's actually a misconception. They do allow their trucks, and what they don't allow is dangerous material. Okay, stop.
Wow.
After the course, Tony was accepted as a volunteer at a pro-Israel communications
Motherfucker, you can get a bag of chips up in there. What's so dangerous about chips? That you can't have once.
The Israel project, known as TIP, describes itself on its promotional videos as a strategic communications group.
It's just such a nice building. It's an unassuming part of the skyline. Why? This motherfucker here I've been seeing all over. John Mersheimer.
That is unprecedented in recorded history. Not simply that the United States gives Israel a tremendous amount of economic aid and diplomatic protection. It gives that.
If you don't know who this guy is,
protection,
I just put you on game.
No matter what, right? It's not conditional, and the Israel Project will go to enormous lengths to achieve that end.
I don't know what it must feel like to be an actual professional who has studied, documented, peer-reviewed, and published evidence of this absolute fuckery and just exist in a world where the information is out there in an irrefutable way and nothing happens. Meanwhile, they want to know, like bloodhounds, what kind of crack Hunter was doing. Let the boy do. Wow.
During his placement as a volunteer, Tony took notes on what he saw and heard in TIP's offices. He worked in what they called the war room, where media and communications are monitored.
They call it the war room. There's no way.
Staff described having contacts at numerous media organizations.
BuzzFeed, Washington Post, Bloomberg. BuzzFeed.
Friendships with reporters.
BuzzFeed? That said BuzzFeed.
Described having contacts at numerous media
right there. What the fuck?
Organizations. Their primary means of influence is by forging friendships with reporters.
I've already watched this, but I apparently I missed some things.
One employee claimed that during talks on the nuclear deal with Iran, Tip applied pressure on the Associated Press news agency to change a headline. Tony read the Israel Project's annual report, which described Tip's mission as building an echo chamber for pro-Israel information. That means using the media to amplify and repeat Tip's messages, as well as what the report describes as neutralizing undesired narratives. Tony saw one document which claimed that the echo chamber was within their grasp.
Wow.
Weeks before he started, Tony discussed with a senior manager how Tip deals with the media.
Things that they make you do loudly. A lot of them things to be behind the scenes. You can get a lot more done by making questions get asked by journalists. And if you create it from multiple directions at the same time from multiple journalists, then you create a kind of sense of crisis. We develop relationships to get them to trust us.
They are casually having conversations about psychological warfare. And they're giving the training like it's fucking WHMIS. Like workplace hazardous material shit. It doesn't make sense. At least have a layer. At least there's no hiding in plain sight. Hiding in plain sight. Because the building looks normal. The office looks normal. He's leaning back in his chair, like, worried about the weenus. Like Chandler Bing. I'm looking at the weenus and I'm not happy. But he's there like, I'm going to get a bunch of different newspapers to say the same thing at once and confuse the American, and many times, because all of our news is purchased by American conglomerates, I'm going to purchase the opinion of the American people. Just sitting in an office at where, there was a number on the wall here, 119 something something street. Just in a nice glass building
To get them to trust us.
with not even a strong tint.
The following BDS is essentially kind of a hate group targeting.
Yeah, 19 something. They don't care if you find them.
Try not to even use the term.
Stop Iran's nukes now.
We just
5 years ago.
The goal is to actually make things happen and figure out what it means of communication to do that.
In 2005, Palestinian civil rights groups sought a peaceful means to protest against Israel's occupation. They identified goods from Israel and called for their boycott. The BDS movement was born.
BDS adopted a nonviolent strategy because we think it is morally consistent and very effective against an enemy that is extremely powerful militarily. We called for boycotting Israel, divesting from it, and eventually imposing sanctions on it, as was done against apartheid South Africa, to achieve basic Palestinian rights under international law.
Over the past decade, BDS has grown around the world. By campaigning for Palestinian civil rights in land controlled by Israel, BDS believes it has exposed a deficiency in the moral defense of the Jewish state.
BDS is saying that what Israel has to do is treat the Palestinians in its midst the same way it treats Israeli Jews. The problem is that if Israel does that, there are more Palestinians, or there will be more Palestinians inside Greater Israel than there are Jews. And that means that if you had a system where everybody was
Palestinians
treated
fuck.
equally and there was one person and one vote, that you would no longer have a Jewish state.
Same thing.
The secretive Ministry of Strategic Affairs, based in the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem, was given a mission: establish a covert campaign to defeat the BDS movement.
אנחנו אחראים על המאבק בתופעה, ובמסגרת זו יש לנו 4 רגליים: התראה, הרתעה, התקפה והסברה. אז אני אגיד לך שכשאם אתה רוצה לנצח בניהול מערכה, אתה צריך לעשות את זה עם הרבה מאוד עמימות. כמו שכשעבדתי על סוגיות צבאיות, כמו חיזבאללה, או כספי טרור, או סוריה, או כל מדינה אחרת שאיתה בעבר ניהלתי מערכה מולה כקמן. לא הלכנו ואמרנו לצד השני מה אנחנו מתכוונים לעשות. השארנו אותו בעמימות.
Government ministers attacked me in person, one of them threatening BDS leaders with targeted civil assassination, and others threatening to revoke my permanent residency, along other threats.
לא מעטים מבין מנהיגי ה-BDS מקיימים קשרים, קשרים כספיים, קשרים ארגוניים, קשרים אחרים, עם גורמים עוינים למדינת ישראל. תפקידנו, באמצעות הפעלת המודיעין, לחשוף את הקשרים האלה, ובהחלט באמצעות החשיפה הזאת, גם לדעת לפעול נגדם, לבודד אותם, גם להעביר מידע לאותם גורמים מודיעיניים בעולם.
Something about the Hebrew language sounds so Eastern European / German, and it's just conditioning from Hollywood to associate that kind of accent with the villain in a movie. And I just think that's so funny sometimes because, you know, that's obviously you miss something in the propaganda. I'm gonna let the video play while I find out why a certain cat is refusing to chill.
וגורמים אחרים. ישראל חייבת לבצע סיכול אזרחי ממוקד במנהיגות למול פעילי ה-BDS.
The campaign includes monitoring the activities of American students.
אנחנו עכשיו למשל נמצאים בתהליך שלם של ליצור תמונה כוללת על הקמפוסים. אם אתה רוצה לנצח תופעה, אתה צריך לדעת להיות עליה בעליונות במידע וידע.
Our investigation into the role of the Israeli state at US campuses led Tony to an employee at the embassy in Washington. She's American, and her job is to analyze BDS activity for the Israeli government.
So like nobody really knows what we're doing. But mainly it's been a lot of like research, like monitoring BDS things and reporting it back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and like making sure everyone knows what's going on. They need a lot of research done and stuff like that. When they talk about it in Knesset, like usually that's what like contributed to what the background information is. I'm not going to campuses, it's more about connecting organizations and I guess campuses, providing like resources and strategy if students need it.
Is the Israeli embassy trying to leverage faculty?
Yeah. We're working with several faculty like advocacy groups that kind of train faculty, so we're like helping them a little bit with like funding, connections, bringing them to speak, having them speak to diplomats and people in the MFA that need this information. So I kind of want to be that resource to show students like we should really see what you're doing. Here's some information if you need anything at all. We can connect you, just kind of be that person there for you.
Julia was president of the pro-Israel group at Davis, which is part of the University of California. Davis began as a center for agricultural studies, and its students are known as Aggies.
I came to UC Davis, which had a reputation of being really pro-Israel. Now it's like the top 5 most anti-Israel schools in the US.
Why?
Because of everything that happened in the last few years. It was just particularly bad. And there's a huge Muslim population in Sacramento, which is right next to Davis.
The growing support for the BDS movement in Davis and the lobby's response to it is part of a narrative that's unfolding across America's campuses. Students for Justice in Palestine, or SJP, brought a divestment motion before the Student Senate.
I was very, very nervous. The entire room was filled. I think we had about 600 students and people from the community coming in to witness this vote.
I am here today because, quite frankly, I am ashamed. I am ashamed of my university for supporting apartheid genocide of my people in Palestine.
I ended the speech with something along the lines of being on the right side of history and for the university and its unethical ties with these corporations who were doing brutal things to Palestinians.
We knew they were going to win because our entire student senate was all pro-BDS. Like, they ran for that purpose and won for that purpose, and we've been pushed out of student government for months.
Good evening. My name is Julia Rittman, and I'm the president of Aggies for Israel.
Students streamed the hearing online. The pro-Israel group also filmed it with another purpose in mind. Their videos would play a key part in the story that was to unfold in the days ahead.
I was waiting to see what she would say. I was waiting for a blow to come my way, and that blow sure came.
We have been ignored and disrespected year after year, but we have never been silenced. We are a beacon of peace and inclusion on a campus plagued by anti-Semitism.
The talking points were that the resolution was anti-Semitic, that it was divisive. If it's divisive in the fact that you either support human rights or you don't, then so be it.
The intolerance that spawned this resolution is the same kind of intolerance that has spawned anti-Semitic movements throughout history.
The entire thing looked very rehearsed, very, very aggressive, almost comically so.
Julia and her pro-Israel allies had already decided that they didn't want to debate.
At 4 a.m. the night before, me and my team were like, you're going to lead the walkout. And I was like, okay. They're like, we're going to film it just for our own purposes. I was like, totally cool. So when everything was happening, like, we went into it knowing we were going to lose. So our strategy was how to, like, ultimately win while losing the vote.
This is our victory. And we who are victorious need not legitimize the words spoken in this empty hearing. So if you are here tonight in opposition to this resolution, I invite you now to stand up. Really, stand up. And join me in walking out of this room.
That was a wowing moment. To have them just stand up, everyone just kind of was like, what's going on? It was very shocking. As they were leaving, it was just a very big rush of relief to not have that tension, those bad vibes in the room. And so we started cheering, actually, and it was a great moment.
Standing in the back, it looks like some seats opened up.
But the passing of the BDS motion proved to be just the beginning of a bigger story. In part 2, how the lobby worked to undermine the student decision.
Those swastikas, who did them?
We don't even know.
Hi.
Our undercover reporter was meeting an employee of the Israeli embassy in Washington. She had led a pro-Israel group while at university in California.
So we are here tonight in opposition to this resolution.
Students at Davis were about to vote in favor of a divestment motion. During the debate, the pro-Israel group staged a walkout. They uploaded videos to publicize their protest.
Our thought was to control the narrative by having a speech that we wanted it to cause attention. We wanted everyone to see us walking out to show that like this doesn't represent us or about this. So that's how we kind of formulated it. That day, all of us released like 50 op-eds in major news sources, so that when people made a hashtag and like a whole thing trending, so when people opened their Facebooks, it wouldn't be them celebrating the victory, it would be us sharing our stories. Once it blew up, then random people, like the Huffington Post contacted me and was like, do you have anything to say? And I was like, immediately, I wrote an op-ed 2 weeks ago just in case. People who weren't involved in anything, like their entire newsfeed was Israel stuff, and like that was what we wanted, because that's how we got the word out there.
How do you delegitimize the other side?
Delegitimizing them, kind of through that lens of taking over and like making them sound crazy at their game. A student senator who's Muslim made a Facebook status saying that Israel will fall, or Sharia law is taking over Davis, like we want Hamas, like that kind of status. So that happened. We had been called terrorists and told that we were Hamas sympathizers, that we want to bring Sharia law to campus and things like that.
Hi everyone, my name is Azka Fayaz. I'm a second-year political science major.
Azka Fayaz was a committed BDS activist and claims that pro-Israel students repeatedly tried to link her to political violence.
They just came up to me and said, you're a terrorist. Are you a terrorist? You're gonna bring, terrorism to the student government and things of that nature. And vote smart.
I know her. It was ironic. She was directly making a joke of that. When I saw it, though, given the climate at the time, I did grow concerned.
People who were involved, they were like, hey, there's actually a lot of negative posting on social media. They're sharing your picture and the cover photo with your caption. It's turning really ugly. That caption was reposted and retweeted over and over and over again. I knew that something big was sort of going to happen.
Pro-Israel students were taunted by pro-Hamas students after an anti-Israel vote passed on campus. Listen and watch. And right after the vote passed, a student senator posted this on Facebook. Hamas and Sharia law have taken over UC Davis BRB, crying over the resilience.
I don't have the capacity to bring Sharia law to the University of California, Davis. I don't think any of us really do have the capacity. They wanted to try to make me look as evil and violent as possible. How can we use their words out of context in such a way that their victory doesn't seem so victorious anymore? Conveniently, the divesting video just happened to do that, but then we all started shouting all the walk bars we were leaving. That was really nice for us in a way, because it caught them just, doing what they're doing. And then it went viral on YouTube.
Anger and tension running high at the University of California Davis campus.
What you just saw played out late last week is the Student Government Association voted on a resolution to boycott the Jewish state of Israel.
They kept showing it over and over again. And they just said that the Muslim students forced the pro-Israel students to leave the room.
Reports say when the Israel supporters tried to object to this vote, the pro-Palestinian students you just saw tried to shout them down with cries of Allahu Akbar.
I invite you now to stand up. Really, stand up. And join me in walk out of the room.
Of course, we know that they left willingly, and they stated that they were going to walk out of the room.
It's incredible to hear Allahu Akbar shouted in the middle of this university.
And what does that represent, Megan? The subjugation of women, the torture of homosexuals, the torture of Christians, the crucifixion of Christians. That's what it has come to represent, and that's what they're shouting.
The pro-BDS activists at UC Davis then faced another crisis.
2 days after a resolution passed, unfortunately, someone defamed the Jewish frat house and had painted swastikas all over it. Outrageous, just not acceptable behavior at all. What was upsetting to us, however, was they had the media there right away.
Disturbing discovery for a UC Davis student. Jewish students found swastikas painted on their fraternity house in Davis.
These swastikas were discovered that.
Since then, there have been a lot of fake swastika and other similarly anti-Semitic attacks that were completely staged. And I don't understand why. There is so much anti-Semitism out there. Ugly, real anti-Semitism. Why paint someone else as your enemy when you already have an enemy? Oh my God.
Morning and around 10 a.m., my best guess, and I believe the news media were there by 11.
Pro-Israel students say they feared recent events would lead to this.
This week has been sort of a bad week to be Jewish on campus.
After years of heated meetings, a student body passed a resolution Thursday urging UC Davis to end any affiliation with companies that support Israel.
So this is not out of the blue. We're pretty sure this is directly related.
Who were they finger pointing at but us? Us who were still on this high of finally getting this resolution passed, still in high spirits, just crushed us. Roseanne Barr tweeted, all the Jews should leave Davis and the rest of the school should be nuked.
Roseanne, this is why they kicked you off your own goddamn show.
A general flooding of Islamophobia by the media.
When a show is your own name and they're like willing to just part ways with you just to like taking the financial hit of no longer having Roseanne on Roseanne just because you're that fucking awful should just be enough for anyone to see Roseanne say something and to just be on the opposite. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day because Candace Owens. And we're gonna get into that too, in another part of this series. I'm not gonna let it take over the whole channel, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna talk about this a lot because I can't think about a whole lot else.
And it was with news outlets, media, and it was the day after there was some swastikas on campus, and it was it all blew up. And job.
Look at her. She was the one giving a speech not 2 moments ago. This was her on campus. This was her reading her script, talking about I'm terrified and everyone walk up and leave. And now here she is.
I think it's just some random white supremacist type people who just came, did, left. We don't think it was students.
Wow.
That's pretty surprising because it was very clear from their behavior towards us.
Again, this poor
towards us
girl,
that we
traumatized.
had done some heinous crime to them and that we deserve to pay for it.
She just thought to herself, you know what? I'm at university and I'm going to do what people do at university, which is protest, learn stuff, get politically active. And Israel's like, I'm going to ruin your life. Oh, well, you thought Palestinians should have rights? You're done, bro. Dead man walk. Like, first of all, I'm fucked too. And M the Gem, I'm drowning her on this ship. Because if these people are on it the way they say they're on it, I'm unhirable.
We're dying on the right side of history is all
If these people are about it the way they say they are about it, we are unhirable. So just subscribe, okay? Because it's free. And anybody who dares say that Palestinians should not be dead for no reason other than, you know, not like, hey, if you could just stop asking for your home, if you could just stop all this whole when am I going to get my land back and just go be Arab. I can't even get into it.
The Israeli method is to ask them to dig themselves a mass grave and just get into it.
You know what I'm saying? Just dig a hole. We're looking for Hamas. And Hamas. First of all, how are all these lily white English people who couldn't pronounce any of the Vietnamese names in my class suddenly like Hamas? That is not a sound that rolls off the tongue. Oh dear. Hit me.
Students who were part of the divestment movement painted swastikas on the fraternity. That's what she was hinting at. That's what she was trying to imply.
Why would we act against our interests and do that at a moment when we were, I guess, victorious? The fact that it was just so quickly tossed onto us as those who had done this, it was damaging. It was hugely damaging.
That was kind of our strategy. A lot of it was media-based, which is like kind of my interest in media. And I'd say that's like 99% of what it means to be successful. That happened, but then there was another swap. It was just like every day something new was happening, and you had to.
It was weird because they won.
Yeah.
So you think if they would win, why would they do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, that was kind of our whole strategy. We knew they were going to win.
Were you in touch with the embassy, or were you in touch with like any of the groups?
Pretty much all of the groups. Not the embassy, I guess our consulate.
As well as the Israeli consulate in San Francisco, Julia's anti-BDS campaign had the guidance of several pro-Israel lobby groups.
Stanford helped us a little bit in terms of actual research on the speech. He gave us some like legal research type stuff. I'm always biased to work with APAC, so they kind of helped for like moral support.
I'm always biased to want to work with APAC.
It was more help like gain contacts in like the media world. I guess we needed money to pay for somebody to film the speech. Like we had Davis faculty for Israel group, and like they were hugely helpful to us. They would, you know, because some of them were retired lawyers, so they'd write legal documents for us. They knew the administration, they were tenured, they had pull.
Despite the passing of the BDS motion, the governors of the university known as regents are under no obligation to abide by the students' vote.
As for that resolution to boycott Israel, well, UC Regents issued a statement saying they will not even entertain the idea.
After looking back on everything, I feel a little creepy because of what happened after the vote. People that were affiliated with the group just were smeared and had to deal with these very personal crises of the world calling us terrorists and the world thinking that we were this spiteful hate group. It's pretty unequivocal how organized they were, how brutal and ruthless that narrative was, and how it affected us in the end.
Back in Washington, our undercover reporter was attending the annual conference of the Israeli-American Council. The IAC's role is to connect American Jews to Israel. This year, combating BDS was top of the agenda.
I think we need to worry. The polling isn't good, and all of you probably know, if you look at the polls, the younger you get on the demographic scales, the lower support for Israel is. It seems to be achieving its goals, and I think it threatens future American support for Israel. Younger people are leaving college less sympathetic to Israel than when they enter.
The lobby hope that a new partnership with Israel's Ministry of Strategic Affairs will become a game changer in the fight against BDS.
For years we are trying to defeat the BDS and the delegitimatization movement. We are all on the defensive, and I think we should move to the offensive. Using especially cyber and internet tools to try and defeat this ugly movement. I'm really honored to present my partners here, Brigadier General Sima Bakandi, the Director General of the Ministry of Strategic Affairs. Sima, please.
The fact that the Israeli government decided to be the key player means a lot, because we can bring things that usually are not existing in NGOs or civilian entities that are now involved in this thing. The Israeli government can look at the bigger picture and actually create this coordination and cooperation. We are the only player inside the pro-Israeli network who can actually say that he's filling the gaps.
The Israeli official described to members of the lobby the first phase of the covert war.
Ambiguity is part of our guidelines. That's why I'm not going to say anything too much about each one of the legs. The first one is intel, intelligence, or data, or information. What we've done is mapped and analyzed the whole phenomena globally, not just the United States, not just campuses, but campuses and intersectionality and labor unions and churches.
We started to establish a project called Israel Cyber Shield. This project is actually a civil intelligence unit that collects, analyzes, and acts upon the activists in the BDS movement, if it's people, organizations,
I don't want y'all to
or
think I'm
events.
missing shit. I
And we
watched
give everything we collect. We are using the most sophisticated data system, intelligence system in the Israeli market.
This is the same panel that said black kids are a problem for Israel. Black youth. Bitch, mind your business. Mind
Israel
your
has used cyber sabotage.
business.
We suffered from intense denial of service attacks, hacking attacks on our websites. Israel decided to go on cyber warfare against BDS publicly. They said, we shall spy on BDS individuals and networks, especially in the West. We have not heard a peep from any Western government complaining that Israel is admitting that
I wonder
it
why.
will spy on your citizens.
I wonder why.
Imagine Iran saying it will spy on British or American citizens. Just imagine what would happen.
Unfathomable.
The Ministry of Strategic Affairs brings together this group called the Global Coalition for Israel, and it's like leading pro-Israel advocacy groups around the world.
These people speak
My
the
view and the
way
view of Israel's Ministry of
I
Strategic
do
Affairs,
when
which
I'm
we coordinate with
interviewing
sometimes,
or
we
like
communicate with sometimes, is
bragging about
like Europe is lost and it's
landing
basically
a
over,
difficult
and like they're turning a lot of attention out of the U.S. because they
assignment
feel
or
we're on
something.
your path.
Can I join these? I'd love to. I don't know if you'd let me.
It's like a pretty sensitive conversation, but it's going well.
If China was doing this, if Iran was doing it, if Russia was doing it, there would be uproar. You would have Congress going after them, you would have hearings, you would have prosecutions. The question is,
forget all them countries. Weren't they foaming at the mouth to kill Snowden for like admitting that they were that America was spying on Americans. And that campaign, they must have gone to the same training, because a lot of people thought Snowden was just some bad guy. I remember seeing a street interview where people just asking, oh, who's Edward Snowden? And a lot of people in the States were just answering, oh, not sure who he is, but I'm pretty sure he fucking sucks. Like, what?
How does Israel get away with this?
It's modeled on General Stanley McChrystal's counterinsurgency strategy in Iraq. We've copied a lot from that strategy that has been working really well for us, actually. And one of the pieces is this operations.
So we can all rest easy. They're just using the same blueprints that led the world to invade Iraq.
We're phasing that out over the next year, and we're bringing on more sophisticated technology that's developed in Israel.
Tech developed in Israel, used to spy on Americans and Canadians.
That is able to access all this information and possibly undermine.
You know, Harper lapped this up
their democratic rights
back when that prick was in charge, and I'm pretty sure these guys are
so we're
lapping
not
it up
dealing
too.
with amateurs. This is not an amateur work. We're dealing with a
Oh, that's my bad.
If China was doing this, if Iran was doing it.
So we're not dealing with amateurs. This is not an amateur work. We're dealing with a government that have a ministry at a ministerial level engaged in the systematic targeting of activists outside of its sovereign borders.
The only way it's going to stop is if somebody in the government points out this is illegal and we're not going to tolerate it. And if we do tolerate it, other countries are going to do it as well.
There's a company called Census, S-E-N-S-U-S. It's like very pricey though, We had to raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars just for it. It's gonna increase our discovery rate. We're discovering just about everything we need. It's very pricey though, We had to raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars just for it.
Census.
It's gonna increase our discovery rate. We're discovering just about everything we need. It's also going to bring new sources online that we weren't able to access in an automated fashion, like message boards, and we have ways to crawl message boards right now and to monitor them, but it's like disconnected from the event and activity discovery mechanism, so that we want that system to be all integrated.
Hunger, starvation, homelessness. Nope.
For them to
Just
start that work. They actually already started it.
spying on kids.
Good friends in Israel that are helping us with that.
Good friends in Israel.
Since the United States has this special relationship with Israel and gives it so much.
My mom used to tell me about this proverb she heard as a kid, where it was, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Largesse and protects it diplomatically at every turn and gives this assistance unconditionally. That the Israelis would do less spying here than other countries do. But on the contrary, what we see is that the Israelis are probably at the top of the list when it comes to foreign countries spying inside the United States.
Our investigation into
I'm gonna run that back.
You would think that since the United States has this special relationship with Israel and gives it so much largesse and protects it diplomatically at every turn and gives this assistance unconditionally, that the Israelis would do less spying here than other countries do. But on the contrary, what we see is that the Israelis are probably at the top of the list when it comes to foreign countries spying inside the United States.
If I'm paying for the spyware, might as well give you the test environment as well. The chutzpah. If you know, you know.
Our investigation into Israel's covert war against BDS led Tony back to Julia Rifkind. She's American, and her full-time job at the Israeli embassy is monitoring BDS. She summed up a typical day at the office. Monitoring BDS. She's American, and her full-time job at the Israeli embassy is monitoring BDS.
She's American, works at the Israeli embassy in the States, and her main job is tracking people exercising their First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And wow, that's ballsy.
She summed up a typical day at the office.
Wow, it just looks like the state of Israel is employing little spies, and you can't take a breath without Israel hearing about it.
Julia spoke about her former days as a student. While at UC Davis, she was also an activist with AIPAC. The training she received from the most powerful arm of the pro-Israel lobby left its mark.
What the fudge?
She's been trained really well. She follows the
She's
commands
terrifying.
that she has been given by these Israeli organizations, and she follows it really well.
Mine's like 15 names, like 14 of them are AIPAC.
AIPAC encourages the students it trains to conceal any affiliation.
Okay.
When you're lobbying on behalf of AIPAC, you don't say AIPAC. You say I'm a pro-Israel student from UC Davis. And when you're meeting with students on campus, I would never say like, I'm AIPAC campus rep. Say, my name's Julia, I'm a pro-Israel student.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need the organization.
AIPAC's involvement in student council elections is also kept secret.
AIPAC attracts more political students who are interested in like lobbying. We like campaigns and stuff like that. We deal with student elections, very behind the scenes.
They actually were found to have put cameras in the rooms where there were meetings going on. I liked meeting outside where there are no rooms and there are no possible cameras under the chairs or wherever they may have put them.
I have several weird Facebooks. I have my fake Facebook that I follow like all the SJP accounts. Probably some fake name. My name is Jay Bernard or something. So it just sounds like an old white guy, which is a plan. I like joined all those groups. A lot of people have added me. And then maybe just wanted to see in the newsfeed like what kind of articles they were sharing, just to kind of see what their internal dialogue was.
Every single event that I put on, you would have these pro-Israel groups coming out before our guests even got there with their cameras videotaping.
Julia has no contact with her handlers in Israel. She writes her intelligence briefs and awaits their instructions.
I report, to my boss, who translates it. It's really weird. We don't like talk to them on the phone or like email or whatever. There's like a special like server that's like really secure that I don't have access to because I'm an American. You have to have like payments to have access to the server. It's called cables. It's not even free.
Okay.
It's cables. I've seen it. It looks really bizarre. So I write reports that my boss.
This is like a shadow government.
If she believes it's spying on activists to suppress a free speech movement, then, you know, peace be to her. And I hope she feels good sleeping at night being on that side of things. We're a group of student activists advocating for Palestinian human rights. And to think that we're so upsetting and threatening to a state is pretty awe-striking to me. Creepy, but also, I guess, makes me more proud of the work I did.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm glad she can walk away with this, from this with her head held high.
What are they saying?
We don't talk about like our side at all. which is disappointing because it would be like nice to do the drama. But it's been them sharing their like videos, their like AJ plus videos on Al Jazeera.
What do you think about Al Jazeera?
It sucks because they have a lot of interesting like liberal videos, which I'm like, wow, like that's amazing to hear about that human rights issue, hear about that like sexism situation, whatever. And they show like, why Israel is a perfect state. You're like, ooh, not anymore. So that's what's
Oh, I love when they cover all that human rights stuff, but then they insist that Palestinians are humans, and I'm like, ugh.
Like liberal videos, which I'm like, wow, like
I think she had like a moment of being human.
about that like sexism situation, whatever. And they show like, why Israel is a perfect state. You're like, ooh, not anymore. So that's what's annoying is like it's tied to all those causes. It's hard to be liberal. It's hard to be liberal.
It's not hard to be liberal. You aren't liberal because you don't include Palestinians in your umbrella. I hate to go back to the Nazi thing, but the Nazi thing. If you were a Nazi who was kind to animals and believed in women's rights, you're not a liberal. You just have some liberal beliefs, maybe some liberal tendencies or whatever. You align, but you aren't. And what you're feeling, that little moment that I see playing across your face is your heart and your reasoning coming up against your training. Because you know it's wrong. Because you know it's wrong. Because you have to run around and push this message in a way that other people don't have to. In a way that causes for women's rights and sexism don't have to. They see that this stuff is happening in the world the way we see what's happening to Palestinians. And that's the bad thing. And then they go out and they make their voices known. People don't attack them for those things because when you hear someone saying, I believe in women's rights or I am against animal cruelty, it's not scandalous. But when you say that, I believe in those things and my full-time job is discrediting hardworking students and setting them up for failure for the rest of their entire lives because I refuse to believe that the state that I love and I am supporting is an ethno-supremacy that is an apartheid state. This is weird. And the entitlement that they feel to the Western opinion, because they know that, later on in this series, they'll talk about the milk stool that the entire Israel lobby rests on. And one of the pillars of the stool was public discourse. Because it's all well and dandy to bribe public officials when no one's really thinking about what's going on, when the world is just seeing another group of brown people getting bombed. But it's difficult when everyone's talking about it and you are caught taking money from the inflictors of violence, the aggressors and not the victim. Then it's hard. Because you can't put on your nice suit and tie and bring out your wife and whatever other freaking training there is for, like all that BS campaigning that you do to prove to people that you're a human being and not a robot that is just lusting after the job you're going to get once you leave public office. All that's out the window because there's a genocide going on, and for the first time in history, you are not the you're not the active genociders. So obviously it should be easy to be against it. We are American, we are Canadian, we're not doing the genocide. So it should be pretty easy to say, that's genocide. But it's like they become their coding instead of humans. And they just glitch. And they just have this circular logic of Israel's allowed to defend itself when they absolutely know that, one, no, you can't occupy people and then claim self-defense. I can't be the only person who watches squatter videos in my downtime and just love seeing them get their comeuppance. So these same lawmakers who are out there like, oh my God, the law's not helping these landlords, like these squatters, are the same people who are like, Israel has a right to defend. Explain it. You can't. You got paid and you're pushing a message, and this is the problem with allowing public officials to get paid through any means besides their job. Because I'm not voting for you to play Battleship. You know what I'm saying? I'm voting so that you'll take care of what's going on here. So that I don't see homeless tent encampments in downtown Toronto. I'm not voting so that I can see, hey baby, that's my dog. I'm not voting so that I can have people working at an embassy who are actively working against the citizens of the country that they're in, that they are a citizen of themselves, for the benefit of another. I am the child of immigrants. I would not feel comfortable with this on some, nationalism thing, go circumvent the will of Canadian. No, I wouldn't. It's just, I mean, if you paid me a lot of money, I would sell my soul. Not my soul. I could be, I'm just gonna get off this. Took off without a place to land. I would know this was wrong. I would not have that stupid fucking look on my face about how it's hard to be a liberal. I would be like the black guy that's going to come up in a later video who just admits that he is for sale, got bought, and is doing this for a salary. Because that kind of brutal honesty is the only way that I could live with myself afterwards. To just have a video to point to and say, no, see, I said that I was doing this for shits and gigs and money. Anyhow, we're almost at the end, and if you stuck around this long, wow. Thank you. And you're not alone.
You represent that government.
Not directly. I'm just a normal American.
In episode 2, Tony discovers how the lobby raises funds for congressmen.
They negotiate an envelope with 20 credit card handing over $250,000. That buys a lawmaker.
And how a row over anti-Semitism swept through the University of Tennessee.
You have to show that they're racist hate groups and to consistently portray them that way.
Well, that was an ordeal. There are 4 parts to this. And you guys, this shit is from 5 years ago. Can we talk about that? Let me go back to full screen. Oh, the comments are turned off. I bet the comments would be so fucking crazy right now. They should repost this. Electronic Intifada should repost this. Oh boy. The recommendations are a calling to me. That's that prick Pierre. They got another one. The day is... Holy crap, dude. All right, well, I'm going to end it here. We will be back soon with another video or part 2 of this series. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, no hate in the comments. We're not going to tolerate it. It doesn't matter what position it is you're coming from. Don't leave any of that shit in the comments, because we want to hear what you have to say. But if it's hateful, if it's Islamophobic, if it's anti-Semitic, legitimately anti-Semitic, not critical of Israel anti-Semitic, because critical of Israel is what this whole video has been about, but you know what I'm saying, then that's it. You won't be welcome back on this channel. So do with that what you will. Move accordingly with that information in mind. I think I'm going to probably just... You know what? What time is it? Nope. I'm going to log off and go to bed. Thank you so much for hanging out. We will see you very soon. Love from M the Gem and myself. Peace.